Change means to me personally, it is transitioning from one phase to the next, often a undesirable element to a desired state. And if one looks at change, you would find, for instance, you have the Myers-Briggs study that was performed, the personality profiles. And you find that the studies that they found is that 80% of people have the judging characteristic. So what this means is the J, most people find that they don't adopt well to change. There's a great quote by Les Brown that speaks of fear being the short acronym for false evidence appearing real. And with keeping that in mind, you can actually achieve anything, face your fears, engage with your fears, run towards your fears. And so you can actually drive change within as well as supporting others with their change transition. But I believe in we grow through what we go through. That is the important element, that we will face tragedies, but if we just are able to embrace that challenges, embrace that constraints, we can really grow through what we go through. If I look at where I come from the other side of the track. I come from the Cape Flats. I did not come from a bad home. However, I was surrounded by tons of challenges and constraints. And I engaged with a lot of gangsters. In our neighborhood, we had, in my part of the Cape Flats, Ravensmead, I had friends that were gangsters. I engaged often with them. There were often usage of drugs, alcohol, all kinds of interventions, and hanging out at shebeens, etc. That was the way of life. And especially when you come from an environment like that, you tend to gravitate towards these gangs because you get the sense of community, the sense of belonging to something greater. And at that point in time, you believe the fast cars, you believe the nice girls, you believe the living life as a superstar, what is often portrayed on some of these music videos that you see. And your world actually becomes so small that this is ultimately, it becomes your world. If I look at many of the people that I grew up with, it is either one, they've actually landed up in prison, two, they are either distributing drugs or they are actually drug addicts themselves. And it's often heartwarming and results in some pain that you feel when you do go back to your neighborhood, because I do believe in giving back. I do believe in hosting these entrepreneurial interventions in my neighborhood, which I currently do. And when you go back and you see these individuals, and often they would come out to me and say, that they feel so warm to the sense that I've actually been able to change my life. And I often feel like, that's that warm, cushy feeling, like, what do you say in this scenario? But I've actually learned to actually embrace that and to just share a voice of encouragement in terms of how they can change their lives. Because in that phase of my life, I went through a rough patch, and in order for me to actually make change and to drive change, I had to change the way I saw the world. My recipe for success is to never give up, always to focus on the positive. Many years ago, I came across the idea of, this visualization and creating these vision boards. And I started a small business sometime in 2010, 2011. And prior to this, the whole build up towards that is I put together these vision boards, and people found that this was quite strange. Often people would come to my home and ask me, what is all this up against your wall? And that was my vision and my dream. Everything that I saw that I wanted in my life, I actually had it up against my vision board. And I mean, fast forward now 7-8 years later, I actually had my daughter ask me, Dad, what is this old vision board that was lying in my garage? And after taking that out, I actually realized I've actually achieved so much of what I've actually visualized. So by actually just having a vision in your mind and knowing exactly where your ideal destination is, you can actually backcast it and actually start identifying what are the key areas that you need to focus on personally as well as professionally to actually get to your destination. Join us and be the change.